Hey guys, what's up? I'm Greg. I hope you guys are ready to unpack and get into some good conversations today.
And I'm Jess, and this is our podcast, Baggage Claim. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to Baggage Claim, everyone. If you're out there, grab your favorite drink, whatever that looks like. Could be water, could be tea. If it's coffee and it's late, go with a decaf. Always go with almond milk. In your coffee, yeah. You don't want to get worked up. It's been a bad day, and it's been one of those rough days. Get whatever kind of drink you need, pull up to the table, and let's get ready to unpack together. So, Miss Jess, with your first grade T-shirt on, what are we talking about
first
today?
First grade, best grade.
That's
what we do.
That's what they say on the street, anyway.
That's what the firsties say.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So today we're going to talk about. What does a blended family look like to you? Like, what does that mean to be in a blended family?
Okay. This feels like kind of a loaded question, but it feels kind of weird. It feels like talk shows. Well, you tell me what you think it sounds like. But honestly, I want to hear what your opinion is of what do you think a blended family, like, what does that mean? Help me unpack that statement or question, whatever that is. Which one was it? Was it a question?
Okay, can I go now?
Yeah, sorry. I'm a little hyped up tonight. Sorry.
Well, I know what a blended family is from our point of view.
Okay.
It's not what probably everybody else's is.
And that's true. I mean, yeah, just so we know we're probably, we know we're different. We know we're unique. We understand that. But also, too, we're sharing from our experiences of what we wanted, what we were after. Yours may be different. It may look different. Correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So did you have an idea what a blended family was when we decided to put this together?
No, the only exposure I'd had was when my dad remarried when I was an adult. So I never lived in a blended family. I just knew what it felt like from my experience to have a stepmother as a grown-up.
I grew up in a blended family also with my sister. I had two sisters. One was my biological sister. My other one was not. She came into our life when we were about 12, 13. So I had a stepdad. Took me hunting. We did some fun stuff like that. But he was kind of my stepdad. That's the language that we used. And my sister Carol was my stepsister. But I never really referred to her as my stepsister. I referred to her as Carol. Hey, that's my sister. And so... yeah, so I had an idea of it, but I didn't have a concrete of what I wanted to do.
Right.
Gotcha. So when we were getting together, we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? Bless you.
Sorry, excuse me.
It's all right. Because we're at two different places. Like Callie and Cody's mom is still in their life.
Yes.
In an active way.
Shared them.
Yes,
her.
It was 7 days with me, 7 days with her. You were in a different situation.
I was. I had Thomas and Aaron Grace full time.
Yes. And so, their dad lost their dad. Mm-hmm. And so completely different situations. So Jess and I are trying to figure out what in the world how are we going to do this? What does this look like? Mm-hmm. What words do we want to use? What phrases do we want to use? How do we want to talk to our kids? How are we going to just deal with life together in a house with 4 kids and you and I together? And I remember coming back, this side story, it's not in our notes, but I remember coming back from our honeymoon and we had it was so fun too going on the honeymoon. For you guys, Jess had never left the country when we met. And we had been dating, and I was like, you need to get your passport.
We had been dating for 5 seconds, and you told me to get my passport. And I said, no, I just met you.
That's true. I don't know if you were still on your creeper list or something. I was just trying to be romantic and be like, oh, wisp you away, and we'll go somewhere really nice, like, Lula or,
But you said, you mark my words, I'm going to take you out of the country before the end of the year. And I was like, you're weird, but then also you actually did.
And so where do we wind up in October?
In Belize.
Yes, in Belize. So Jess has her passport. Side story, I'll be really quick with this. But we're in Belize, and we're in this little airport, and I remember the guy stamped her passport, and Jess screamed to the top of her lungs.
And jumped up and down.
Jumping up and down. And the guy's looking at her like she did something wrong. And it was a really fun moment for me.
But you just said, it's her first time leaving the country.
Yeah, I was like, she's never been out of the country. This is her first stamp. And so they just smiled.
He thought it was cute.
But anyway, we came home from this 7 days on an island in Belize, which was phenomenal, to 4 crazy kids. We didn't live together before. That was one thing we said. We didn't want to blend our families until we were married. So the kids' stuff was there. We moved their stuff in, but you stayed with your friend Lisa.
With our friends Chad and Lisa.
Yes.
And
And
the
so,
kids did.
and sometimes the kids would spend the night with me when the weeks I had the kids, they would all stay over. And
I would go home alone.
and I would try to get 4 kids up in the morning, get them to school in time. So,
And they were all between the ages of 8 and 12.
yeah, which was,
Kylie had just turned 12.
yeah. And so it was crazy, but we came home to like, oh my gosh, this is a circus. And it was just wide open from day one. Like you come home, everybody's excited. We all moved into the house together and it was just chaos.
Yeah, I don't think the kids slept for days.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, we got to figure out what we're going to do here, how we're going to do this. Cause the way the way the house was laid out is, Aaron Grace was on the middle floor with us. Callie was in a bonus room. They had steps that led up to the bonus room and the 2 boys lived in the basement. Which they absolutely loved.
It was a wonderland.
Yes, for 2 boys. And so they lived down there.
They had the theater room, they had a pool table, they had their gaming room area, and they had their own rooms, bathroom. It was a wonderland.
Yeah, it was we had to drag them out of there to get them to go do stuff. So it was we had kids spread everywhere, but it was crazy. So we sat down and we said, our words really, really matter and words we use. And for us, we didn't want to refer to this. When you talk to blended family, people have an idea or a thought what that means or what that looks like. For us, we truly wanted to blend our family and honoring like
what was before.
Yes, like it's not a replacement for Callie and Cody's mom at all.
It wasn't about filling a void. It was about adding to each other's lives.
Correct. And so that was a huge part for us that we said we want to make sure we do that. And in the same way, we have like cohesion here. Like it's not crazy. And the biggest thing we realized though is like, we got to get everybody on the same page. Yeah. How are we going to do that? Like, what does that look like? Yeah. And we'll talk about counseling and some other things of how we actually introduce the kids in a later episode. But
when we got to being under one roof, we had to figure out how to operate as a unit. Not that I magically became the mom of all the kids or you magically became the father of all the kids, but we needed to figure out how to be a family unit in our home when we were all there.
Correct. So one thing we said off the get-go is we weren't going to use the word step. We were just going to be family. So we refer to each other as family. You don't have to no one has to call anybody mom. No one has to even call anyone dad. You can call by your names. You can
at first you were Mr. Greg and I was Miss Jessie.
That's true.
And so then once we got together, here kids, this is what we're doing. Then you were just Greg and I was Jessie. But over the years, it's been shortened to Jess. And then Thomas and Aaron Grace on their own naturally started to call you Dad.
Yeah, the first time Thomas called me Dad, it freaked me out. Really I didn't know who he was talking to because he said Dad, and I was like,
he was walking
around
behind you in the living room and just nonchalant asked you a question. Hey, Dad, blah, 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 blah. And you didn't answer it.
I didn't answer because I was like, who's he talking to? Like, he's calling me Dad? And it was kind of a strange moment, but at the same time, a really cool moment. And I was like, oh my gosh. But also, too, it was one of those things for me, like it was never a point where I was going to say, hey, I'm going to replace TJ in his life because that's his biological dad. It's like, if anything, I want TJ to be proud of the man that Thomas has become and is becoming. And so I want to honor him in that process. Even then I would treat him the same way that I would treat Cody.
Yeah, you always have.
That they would be the same. Like there was a toolbox that was in your garage and it was all TJ's tools. Well, we were in the shop one day and I had a little shop that I would always do fun little projects and different things, just always kind of been handy doing things like that. And so I got Thomas and we were in the toolbox and I said, hey, your dad's tools are in this toolbox. Like these are your dad's tools. And I want, like, there was some different things in the top.
Pictures and stuff. I was about to say that.
Up in the top of that. And I was like, tell me about this. And so I pulled a picture of them out together. And I was like, tell me, so what we're going to do is your dad would want you to know how to use these tools. And I was like, so we're going to learn how to use these tools and you're going to talk to me about your dad. So tell me a story about your dad. Tell me something fun about you remember, a good memory with your dad. Because I never wanted it to be a a weird thing for us to have a conversation about that, because it was always, for me, is like honoring that. It was never a
replacement.
right. And so I had to be very, very intentional about how we did that. And so with him, so we're in this craziness. And I know I had mentioned before, I'd done some work with Eagle Ranch, in the boys' homes and the girls' homes a while back. But they had this chart that I saw. And I was like, Jess, we need to try this out. Like, I think this could work for us. And so what it was there's been called lots of different things. If then, if this, then this, then lots of different crazy names for this. But basically, we had this idea of we're going to put all our kids together. And you may wonder, what are all these sticky notes? We have sticky notes all over our table tonight.
20 bright lime green sticky notes everywhere.
And so we've always had this. She won't tell you this, but Jess is very, very artistic. And so she loves to, when we met, she was a painter. So she loved to paint all the time. That was her release for painting. And so we always wanted to get the kids involved in a kinesthetic kind of way, something they could touch, something they could feel, somebody could do it. So we had all these sticky notes, and we gave each kid a pack of sticky notes.
We did.
And we set them down at our table.
And markers.
Yes. And so we said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to throw out a scenario of something that happens in our household. And when I do...
We already lived together for a few months at this point when we got
because
to
we
where
realized
this was.
we're like, the wheels are coming off this train.
We need
quick.
some boundaries here.
Yeah, because it would be like, you can't tell me you're not my mom, you're not my dad, you're not... And I was like, oh. Now...
That didn't happen very often.
No, because Callie and Cody are extremely respectful. And sweet kids. It was their dad's raised. This is parents. I mean,
Thomas and Aaron Grace are sweet.
Yeah, they were sweet kids. They had great parents. They did a good job.
I know you were just teasing, but they never did use the "you're not my mom, you're not my dad." But we realized with Thomas and Aaron Grace being with us all the time, and then sharing Callie and Cody, and they were here 7 days, gone 7 days. We wanted to create some consistency. So really, I remember thinking for Callie and Cody, so traveling in and out of that home environment so they knew what to expect.
Yeah, because it's hard on them to be in a household for 7 days and they leave and they go with their mom for 7 days.
Different.
Yeah, and they have a different life there, and that's okay. But then they come back to this and they're like, okay, I'm jumping back into something again.
Yes.
And that's a lot for a kid to take in. So trying to minimize that as much as possible was our goal. So we had all the kids had all these sticky notes, and I would throw out a scenario, and we came up with some ground rules for our house. These ground rules were written on this, we called it boundaries and expectations sheet. But some of the ground rules were like, you do your chores, and we only had 4 chores.
Yeah.
And each kid had a chore, except for when Callie and Cody were with their mom. Thomas and Aaron Grace had 2 chores.
Double up.
Yeah.
And it was literally load and unload the dishwasher were 2 separate chores, take out the trash, and then help out with the dog. There was only 4 chores that they had.
Right. And some may say that we skimped on chores because we made them clean the rooms, but that was just expected.
Yeah.
Like, you got to keep your room clean. That's where you live. But so we had, like, some of the things were do your chores, no yelling. We didn't have yelling in our house. Like, if you're mad and you're that passionate and you're upset, if all you can do is yell, then take a minute and walk away. 5 minutes, come back, let's have a discussion. Take a breather, walk away, come back, let's have a discussion. Everybody processes information different. But we're not going to yell. We're not going to scream.
We had to put no hitting on there for a short span because when Erin Grace was in karate, she felt like she could use it on her brothers.
That's true.
She got frustrated.
Yes, yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
So
those little hands would go flying.
Yes, and so those were some of the things too that we just these were non-negotiables.
Right.
Like we're not negotiating these things. They are what they are. I mean, but you have like Callie.
Never needed a consequence.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Like, she was mother henning those kids from
was.
the word go. So,
yeah, one of my favorite moments of the mother hen portion was I had the girls in the grocery store, and we turned on one aisle, and Callie said, Erin Grace, you cannot do your family. I can't say it without laughing. You cannot do your fancy dance moves on this aisle. There's a lot of glass. And Erin Grace just looked at her, okay, and just held on to the buggy.
Erin Grace was very jumpy, all over the place.
Yes. Well, she was only 8, so she was still a little bitty. And
and she was tiny
knew
for her age
that she
anyway.
can't do the fancy dance moves, according to Mother Hen Callie.
There we go. So we have all each kid has a sticky note. And to see the kids were like, 8, 10,
11 and 12.
11 and 12 at the time. So I was kind of prepared. Like, I'm trying to facilitate this discussion with all these kids, and Jess and I are trying to it's really funny. So I'm like, okay, so what happens when someone hits someone else? Yeah. I was like, so there has to be a consequence for that. What is it? And some of they were crazy.
Well, at that age, Cody was like living with a cartoon character. So he literally came up with like off the wall answers.
It would be. But, Cody is also the kid too that we were out in the driveway just hanging out, having fun. Yes. And he was hula hooping. And
the 4 of them were having a competition to see who could do it the longest. And we were the timers.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
Well, Cody is hula hooping, just going at it. Mm-hmm. Like it's nothing. Like he's bored. He's so good at it. And I was like, I bet you can't take your shirt off while you hula hoop. I don't know why that popped in my brain.
I don't either.
But, it is what it is. So we're hula hooping. He starts taking his shirt off and then throws it around his head and throws it at me while he's still hula hooping.
While you're videoing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have video of that somewhere. We may have to. We may put that up on our socials this week.
We did talk to Cody today and get his permission.
Yeah, so anyway, if you see that pop up, you should check it out. It's pretty talented. Yeah. I'll tell him that would come in handy. But anyway, it was just, it was crazy. Like it was, so the responses were anything from you can't watch TV for a week to you sit in a dark room. Like they were crazy. So we had to rein in and go, okay, no.
To be reasonable.
Yeah, not that much.
And we weren't. We've never been really strict with them. We're just trying to teach them how to be good people.
Right. So it was like, what happens if you don't clean your room? What's the consequence?
Erin's least favorite consequence of anything, but especially the room thing, was that she would have to go to bed right after dinner and not hang out, family time.
And then
it was devastating.
The other one was if you hit a kid, like if you hit one of your siblings, you go to bed 15 minutes early. That's where Thomas's 1085 came from in the van that time. And so we had all these, we went through probably a list of 10 different things.
Yeah, I think we narrowed it down to 10.
Yeah, if you don't clean your room, if you don't do your homework, if you don't do your chores, if you don't do these things. And basically it was like, if you don't do this, this is what happens. And so we went through and we went back and forth, and there was discussion with all of us and with them to make sure that they got we wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page.
And they had a voice in it too.
Yeah. We let them say, and sometimes they would be like, well, we feel like that's too easy. That was usually Callie's response. You should be a little more strict on that. And then we were like, well, we're just trying to help set some boundaries. And so we went through all of those. And then what we did is at the end, you went to school, you typed them up.
All fancy and colorful.
Yeah, on a piece of paper. We brought them home. We had six or seven copies of that, and we all set them on the table. We read through them again and made sure everybody agreed upon them. Hey, if this happens, then this is the response for that. Everybody agreed, so we made everybody sign that piece of paper.
Each one, all of them had their signature on it.
Yes, they all signed it. Jess took them and laminated them. We put one in every single room. We put one on the front fridge.
We put one in each of their bathrooms.
Yes, and so I think we probably had an extra somewhere. But the whole idea behind that was it didn't matter if it was me or if it was you or who it was. If you didn't clean your room, we weren't arguing over consequences. We weren't getting highly emotional because a kid hit another kid or somebody was talking back. It was a simple, hey, you didn't do this, so here's the consequence. And then if they got mad,
like, nope, you agreed to this.
I was like, I'm sorry, but isn't that your signature? We had to do that first few times, and finally they'd be like, yeah, I signed that piece of paper. Like, you don't have to
and now
show
I'm going to
me.
go to my room.
Yeah, so it became one of those things for that, but it was not it helped us keep from setting that kind of boundary for us to go, I don't want to get emotionally charged and feel like, because in blended families sometimes, If you came at Callie or Cody and you said something, I may be like, hey, wait a minute.
Right.
That's not fair. Your kids did this and my kids did this.
Right.
And so, because we realized we couldn't raise our kids in two completely different in the same house. It just wouldn't work.
Well, even though I wasn't literally Callie and Cody's mom, I'm the mom figure in this household.
Correct.
So just like Thomas and Aaron Grace would respect me as the mom, they had to do the same, and vice versa for Thomas and Aaron Grace for you.
Right.
Just to build that family unit of what it actually should be.
Correct. And so it's just, we didn't know if this was going to work.
No.
This was literally an idea we had just thrown out there and said, we're going to try this and see if it works in our household and just see if it can help us navigate this a little bit and keep the wheels on.
Well, we needed it. I think you kind of said something like this earlier, but we needed it to be not us versus them.
Correct.
Like I couldn't be just protective of Thomas and Aaron Grace and you the same of Callie and Cody. It couldn't be us versus them.
Yeah.
It's all of us are a team in this house.
Yeah. And I think this is the important part of even going back to the very first question when we said, what is a blended family for you guys? Mm-hmm. So I think that's the key to trying to figure that out because our kids, understand we have 4 very, very different kids.
Yes.
They are hugely different.
Even the ones who are biologically related are night and day.
Yes.
Nobody's anything like one another.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cody, this is the kid who would ride a skateboard with a pair of shorts and a raccoon hat. And he would ride a skateboard in the road. Like, just had no fear at that age. Thomas, on the other hand,
was afraid to camp out in the backyard for a short spell of time.
Yes, because they had this grand idea. We had a lot of woods behind our house, and there was a creek, and the kids would always play in the creek back there and play in the woods, and they loved it. It was a blast. And we had this big trampoline. They're like, let's camp out on the trampoline one night. It was
Callie's idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty close to the house.
It was.
It wasn't that far. And Thomas is like, I ain't sleeping out here. We're like, well, why not? He goes, I just ain't sleeping out here.
And he kept on, and it took him forever to finally give us. He got kind of, emotional and was finally ready to give us reason of why.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, it's okay. Just like, are you afraid of something? He goes, I don't know if there's some pot-smoking teenager who's going to walk through the backyard and take us. And I was like, bro, have you seen pot-smoking teenagers in the backyard?
The last thing they want, first of all, is a kid.
I was like...
we know all of our neighbors.
I was like, your buddy Josh lives right there next door. Like, it's like...
so funny.
Yeah, I was like, okay. They were just wildly different.
Yeah.
Like, Callie was always reading a book. She was always inquisitive, into it, just chatty. She was the very thoughtful one of the group. She did mother hen everybody. The boys were scared to death.
They still are. They're grown men, and they still are.
It's pretty funny, though.
Yeah.
She does. She kept them in order.
Yeah.
So, and Aaron Grace was doing karate, so she was always trying to kick something and hit something. So, it was always just, it was fun. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But this is just one of those things that we did that we just said, hey, let's see if this works. And it did. It took off. And it just really grabbed in the kids. You said they may have hated it. Like, if we asked them now, they'd be like, I hated that chart.
But growing up, you would have never known.
No. And it made life so much easier for us.
But it helped us kind of figure out what a blended family was going to look like for us.
Yeah, because we had no idea.
None.
And we read a lot of books, and we read a lot of stuff that
a lot of books that are useless.
That we didn't like.
In our opinion.
Yeah, we just didn't work for us and our
just
family.
Not realistic.
And because if you're listening to this and you're out there and you're like, bro, we struggle with this all the time. I'm going to say, I'm going back and I'm going to beat this drum to you need to be the healthiest version of yourself so that you're not being selfish, because sometimes you want to be selfish and prideful and be like, those are my kids. You can't do this. You can't do that. You need to be the healthiest version of yourself. And then 2, you have to sit down with your partner and figure out what you guys are after together in a family.
Right.
What does your blended family look like? That is key.
The hope is if you're the healthiest version of yourself, you're not going to be seeking after, when you sit down with your partner, you're not going to be seeking after something that's self-serving.
Correct.
Or selfish or all about you. If you're the healthiest version of yourself, and you're ready to make a blended family, or even if you're not a blended family or in your relationship that's working towards marriage, it's going to have to be a team, no matter what it looks like. If it's your core family or you're just starting your family or a blended family, you have to be a team.
So here's our section. We'll transition into our unpack section.
Unpack.
We're going to unpack together. So, kind of like that.
That's a weird radio voice.
It's about the airplane voice. Please put your seat backs up and your tray tables in the upright position because we're getting ready to unpack. So we would say...
I don't want you to do that.
Okay, I won't do it anymore. That's it. That may get cut out. But anyway, so we'll... for our unpack section, the biggest thing I would say for me is that take some time. You don't even have to be a blended family.
No.
If you're married or you're in a relationship, go get coffee, go sit down, just the two of you, and say, get a piece of paper and pencil and napkin. You don't need paper, write on a napkin. It doesn't matter.
Phone.
Yeah, put it. Sorry, if I see, I put it on your phone, of course.
2025.
Yeah. And just ask the question, what do we want our marriage, what do we want our family to look like?
Yeah, what are we after?
Yeah, what is this going to look like in 5 years? Like, what words are we going to use to, when people describe our family or look at our family, what words are they going to use for us?
Yeah.
What words do we want to use? How are we going to conduct ourselves? Because when you have 4 kids living in the house, they're watching everything you do, listening to everything you say, and they are modeling everything you do for them.
Yeah,
so
you're modeling the behavior and words for them that you would want them to do.
Yes. So unpack this week. One big thing to do. What are you after in your marriage? What are you looking to do? Maybe get some sticky notes. It's kind of a fun way to throw sticky notes around. For me, it's very visual. Like I get to see things, and you can write down some core values that you want. We did core values with our family. We'll talk through that in an episode of how we set those up.
Thing we did with a bunch of sticky notes.
It was fun too. So we did those things. So take some time, talk about what it is you want. Is there something else you want to suggest?
One thing to really remember too, though, even when you're thinking about words matter, how you speak to one another is also just as important as the words you choose. Part of your goals is with your relationship is how are we going to even talk to each other? Are we going to yell? Is it okay with you if I throw stuff at you? Like, I would hope not.
If you're throwing things, go see somebody.
Yeah.
Like if you're screaming and yelling names, we never use the D word. We're just not. We're not going to do that. Set some ground rules for how you do that. We'll talk about how we handle our discussions at some point, or our intense fellowship, as we call it. But just know this: always tell Jess, like, it's not what you say; it's how you say it.
Yeah. Well, you've said multiple times this evening that words matter, and it does. No matter if you're talking about parenting things or relationship wise, your words matter.
Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth will speak. Yes. And sometimes it's not pretty. Yeah. And so that's when you get to look at the heart and go,
are you healthy?
What do I need to work on?
Right.
Yeah, what do I have to fix there? So those are a couple of, those are really, really big things to unpack.
Yeah.
So if you have comments, if you have something you want to share with us about, hey, like, Give me some more. Like, reach out to us. We want to interact with you. If you're saying, how did you do the sheets again? Help us get more of a visual of what that looked like, or how did they go? Well,
hopefully I can dig in the Wayback Files and find them.
We may be able to, but interact with us and tell us what you think, what your thoughts are. It's one of those things that worked for us, and we really loved it, and our kids grabbed to it. But thank you guys so much for listening. Please subscribe to our channels. Please share us. Share us with anybody who you know who's out there who could find this stuff helpful. And we're just going to keep podcasting and having fun.
Yeah, so we really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah. See you guys later.